Hey, I just want to share something quick with you guys. You remember I told you Malcolm's father was killed? Okay, yeah. Well, anyway, he was a preacher. And he was following the former leadership of Marcus Garvey. Malcolm's father was poor. He was a poor country preacher. I want to share this with you guys because it's very important that you understand where he came from and where he got his beliefs from. His father got it from Marcus Garvey. Malcolm's father was a poor country preacher. Malcolm recalls how his parents were always arguing. There was never enough to eat. Malcolm was close to his father and often went along to his father's old touring bus to the Garveyite meetings, where Malcolm received his first lessons in self-pride. Who was Marcus Garvey? Right? Some of you know, some of you don't, but the kids don't know. So let's put it out there. Maybe I don't know. And I may come back one day and read and listen. Okay, Marcus Garvey was a charismatic leader with a plan to unify the Negro community. He dressed in an elaborate uniform, trimmed in gold, wore a field marshal hat reminiscent of Napoleon. It's funny, yeah. Marcus Garvey founded the United Negro Improvement Association to build a society economically dependent of white America, with property, industries, services, and trade. He wanted to establish trade and agreements with other countries, okay, particularly Africa and the Caribbean islands. He outfitted an all-black militia to parade through the streets of Harlem and other cities in the United States. Marcus also believed women had a prominent role in his organization, the United Negro Improvement Association, and organized the Black Cross to rival the White Cross Philanthropic League. Women also marched in the black militia. What happened to that? What happened? Anyway, Marcus established the Black Star steamship line, a fleet of giant firefighters to transport cargo, and eventually the black community to African soil. A new nation could be founded. Garvey wanted to run all European whites out of Africa by force if necessary. To support his grand schemes, you guys, Garvey raised money from Afro-Americans in America. To stop Garvey, listen to this, very important. Listen to this, you guys. To stop Garvey, the U.S. government invoked a federal regulation which prohibited use of mail to raise funds for any enterprise that could be viewed as a threat to national security. Now, he was not a threat to national security, you guys, but that's how they got rid of him. So that's what happened. Marcus Garvey was imprisoned in a federal penitentiary in Atlanta after serving 5 years of his sentence, was pardoned by President Calvin Coolidge in 1927, and deported. Severed from his power base in the United States. Garvey returned to Jamaica, where he faded into obscurity. In the years that followed, his multifaceted enterprises collapsed. Garvey is remembered for his slogan, "Black is beautiful." Now that's beautiful. That's interesting, huh? Wow, man. Wow. So this is what happened to his father, to escape the oppressive, because they didn't like him preaching black unity. This is what Marcus Garvey was preaching. You know, he preached the same thing Marcus Garvey was preaching. That, you know, we could make it on our own, be financially secure. Okay. To escape oppressive racism in Omaha, Malcolm's family moved to East Lansing, Michigan, but they found the same overt racism and bigotry there also in Lansing. The Ku Klux Klan regularly marched through the streets, and Negroes were subjected to curfews that prohibited them from being out after sundown. Check that out. Earl bought a farmhouse outside of town, and he continued to preach and organize for Marcus Garvey until a local hate group focused on him, threatened him. Then the realtor who sold the house to Louise, his mother, thinking she was white, later uncovered a clause in the deed that prohibited Negroes from buying the property. They did not return the money and wanted Earl and his family to move out immediately. Wow. That week, they were evicted. The house was mysteriously set on fire in the morning, early morning. Malcolm, his brothers, we'll be doing good, y'all, in 5 minutes. Malcolm and his brothers and his sisters and his mother and his father were forced out into the night, and 5 fighting squad let the house burn to the ground. There were chaotic, unhappy days for the entire family. Malcolm was deeply affected by it all and couldn't understand why it was happening. Isn't that my question? Okay. A year later, when Malcolm was 6, his parents had another terrible fight. Malcolm remembered the fight had something to do with the rabbit Earl wanted Louise to cook. When she refused, he killed it and threw it at her. Stormed out of the house earlier that day. Louise had a premonition that something terrible would happen to Earl if he went out that night. The next day, he was found by the railroad tracks, barely alive. His skull was smashed, his body crushed, nearly cut in half. Ku Klux Klan. Remember I told you about that hate group? Yeah. Black something, black, yeah. But anyway, it was suspected that Earl was killed by a white racist gang. Yeah, he was. I told you about that. That black something league. Okay. He stayed alive in that condition long enough to tell Louise that the family would be all right after 2 insurance policies had taken out to pay off. However, one of the companies refused to pay. They called Earl's death suspicious and had it classified suicide. After Earl died, the family had no income. There was never enough to eat. Malcolm became harder to manage, and like the average boy, was always getting into trouble. He took to stealing fruit kits from the local general store. Interesting. I said that one time. I got in trouble one time with the state. You know, I collected unemployment and working. So they came to Marin looking for me, and the girlfriend that I had, Victoria, I told you about her. She told them where I lived. They came and got me. So as they were taking me out, I said, "Mom, don't worry." And I told them, I said, "You guys make us break the law. You don't give us enough money, can't get us jobs. We can't get jobs. You make it to where we have to break the law." That's what I told them as I was being handcuffed out of my house. But let me come home. But anyway, back to this. Malcolm went rabbit hunting, and with the adults, he learned to set traps for rabbits where they would run into after being chased by the dogs. He also learned there was a system to catching fish and caught more than anyone else. Later in life, Malcolm reflected on these lessons and said, to survive, a Negro has to learn to adapt and know more about the white man than the white man knows about the Negro. As Malcolm grew older, he became aware of the stigma that his father's reputation and death had on the family. It was common knowledge in town that the insurance company had cheated them and caused great hardship on the family. Wow, man, that's deep. That's how he looked when he was younger. Sometimes I can't do it right, you guys. Okay, is that right? Is that good? This was Malcolm when he was younger. Yeah. Anyway, this is his mother. She's pretty. Light-skinned. Passed for white. Okay, Malcolm's mother was a pretty woman with fair skin, straight black hair. 8 minutes, you guys. And unlike Earl, she had received an education which was the cause of many fights between them. So often resorted to passing as white to get work. Malcolm recalled that she was fired on the spot when one bigoted employer discovered she was black. For a long time, she managed to provide meals from day-old bread and wild vegetables from the field until finally she applied for welfare assistance. Welfare workers were constantly visiting and separating the children to ask them probing questions, such as why was Malcolm so lighter than the other children, which one was smarter. Malcolm felt these intrusions were meant to disrupt the family and set them against one another. Eventually, Louise suffered a mental breakdown, became depressed, lost all interest in everything. Malcolm felt the state of help pushed her to breaking point. Malcolm felt the state helped push her to the breaking point with their problem into the family's affairs. Around that time, Malcolm was placed in a foster home. Louise was placed in a mental institution. There was no mother or father to guide or love him. Malcolm somehow managed to stay out of trouble. He proved so much in school that he was selected class president. He went out for basketball, soccer teams, and tried boxing. Gave it up after losing his only 2 matches to the same opponent. Okay, guys, we're going to take a break there. Told you about the rest. Okay, take a break. All right, so anyway, just a little learning lesson for today. Let me get on back and go to church today to our anniversary. So, talk to you later. I got to get ready to go to church with my granddaughter and the better half. I got to go to church. I ain't been to church in a minute, you know. Usually it's the kids that get me to church, normally. You know. I don't know everything, but, you know, I'm tired. Shit, I'm tired. Anyway, I'm gonna sacrifice today and go. So anyway, that's enough of my history lesson for today. And you guys take care. Peace.